Hot news today.
Russia intensifies drone attacks on Ukraine. Israel-backed Gaza food aid plan starts amid dissent, delay. India's foreign secretary visits US to enhance military ties. Russia intensifies drone attacks on Ukraine. Ukraine hit by record drone salvo after Trump rebukes Putin. KYIV. Russia fired its biggest ever drone barrage on Ukraine overnight, Kyiv said May 26, just hours after Mr. Donald Trump called Mr. Vladimir Putin crazy and warned Moscow risked new sanctions if it kept up its deadly bombardment. The US president has sought to broker an end to the three-year war, but has failed to extract major concessions from the Kremlin, despite repeated negotiations and several phone calls between him and Russia's president. For 3 consecutive nights Russia has pummeled Ukraine with large-scale drone attacks, saturating its air defenses and killing at least 13 people on May 25, officials said. Russia fired 355 Shahed-type drones including decoys, in the largest drone attack of the invasion between May 25 night and early May 26, as well as 9 cruise missiles, Ukraine's Air Force said. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said on May 26 that there were no longer any range restrictions on arms supplied by key Western allies to Ukraine, allowing Kyiv to attack military positions in Russia. It was not immediately clear when the decision was made nor which countries had changed their policy. The Kremlin said any Western decision to lift range limits on arms delivered to Ukraine would be dangerous and at odds with peace efforts. In a rare rebuke of the Russian leader, Mr. Trump said on Truth Social late on May 25 in Washington, "I've always had a very good relationship with Vladimir Putin of Russia, but something has happened to him. He has gone absolutely crazy. I've always said that he wants all of Ukraine, not just a piece of it, and maybe that's proving to be right, but if he does, it will lead to the downfall of Russia." Earlier, Mr. Trump told reporters he was absolutely considering increasing sanctions on Moscow. Critical moment. The Kremlin played down Mr. Trump's criticism on May 26, saying Mr. Putin was taking measures necessary to ensure Russia's security. This is a very critical moment, which is fraught with emotional stress for everyone, as well as emotional reactions, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called for more sanctions on Moscow. Russian strikes are becoming increasingly brazen and large-scale every night, Mr. Zelensky said in his daily address, adding that some 900 drones and missiles were launched on Ukraine in the last 3 days. This makes no military sense, but it is an obvious political choice, Putin's choice, Russia's choice, to continue fighting and destroying lives, he said. Moscow's invasion of Ukraine, launched in February 2022, has killed tens of thousands of people, destroyed towns as well as cities and spurred the biggest crisis in relations with the West since the Cold War. Kyiv did not report any immediate deaths from the latest drone attack, but said Russian shelling in the last 24 hours had killed a civilian man in the northern Sumy region. Ukrainian Air Force spokesman Yuri Ignat warned it was becoming difficult to counter the sheer number of drones Moscow was firing. "We need rational and cheaper ways to shoot them down," he told Ukrainian TV. A Ukrainian military source told AFP that Kyiv was somehow fighting with available air defense capabilities and that there was no need to panic. "To maintain our defense, we need deliveries of Western weapons," the source said, adding that deliveries of Patriot missiles as well as NASAMS medium-range air defense and IRIS-T short-range systems were especially important for Ukraine. After May 20 SIXS attack, Mr. Zelensky ordered a significant increase in the production of interceptor drones and will seek additional funding from our partners for this purpose, he said in the address, adding that Ukraine will increase funding for missile production as well. Diplomatic efforts. Diplomatic efforts to end the war have heightened in recent weeks, with Russian and Ukrainian officials holding direct talks in Istanbul earlier this month for the first time in 3 years. They each sent back 1,000 people over the weekend in their biggest ever prisoner exchange, while Russia said it was preparing a document outlining its peace terms. Any more potential POW exchanges would depend on further talks with Ukraine, Mr. Peskov told journalists ahead of Mr. Putin's meeting with Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, adding that Moscow was still working on a ceasefire memorandum. Mr. Putin and Mr. Fidan discussed peace efforts after the Istanbul talks, as well as economic and energy cooperation, a Turkish foreign ministry source said. Mr. Fidan earlier met with Mr. Vladimir Medinsky, Moscow's chief negotiator with Kiev. Moscow has repeatedly rejected proposals for a 30-day ceasefire from Kiev and its Western allies, while grinding forward on the front line. Instead, Mr. Putin offered to work on a memorandum stating conditions for a ceasefire, sparking criticism from Ukraine of stalling the talks. AFP. Source: The Straits Times. Israel-backed Gaza food aid plan starts amid dissent, delay. Jerusalem/Cairo, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, GHF, a new Swiss-based nonprofit, said it began distributing food to Palestinians in the war-ravaged Gaza Strip and appointed a new executive director following earlier setbacks. The US and Israel-backed plan is off to a rocky start, with the top organizer Jake Wood resigning, and the rollout dogged by delay. GHF said Mr. John Akri will succeed Mr. Wood on an interim basis. Palestinians have already received aid packages. More trucks with aid will be delivered tomorrow, with the flow of aid increasing each day, GHF said in a statement late on May 26. The foundation opened one distribution station in a southern buffer zone on May 26, a day behind schedule, Israeli officials said earlier. The ruined coastal enclave's more than 2 million civilians have been brought to the brink of famine, relief agencies say, by an Israeli aid blockade imposed in March after the last truce with Hamas expired. Israel has mounted what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu describes as the final push to win the more than 19-month-old war. Tanks and troops are under orders to conquer Gaza, rout Hamas holdouts, move civilians toward the southern buffer zone and recover the remaining 58 hostages held by the Iran-backed group. On May 26, the military issued evacuation orders to residents of the southern town of Khan Yunis, saying Hamas targets would be engaged there. Israeli strikes killed at least 52 people the same day, the Associated Press reported, citing local health officials. Whether the 20 hostages believed to be alive will survive the new sweep is a question racking Israelis, most of whom, according to surveys, want to end the war with a negotiated repatriation, even if that leaves Hamas in power. Israeli officials say Qatari and Egyptian-mediated talks on a deal continue, spurred by the military pressure. Mr. Wood resigned as the GHF's executive director late on May 25, citing misgivings about the plan. Still, the GHF said that by week's end it would have 2 more distribution stations in the southern buffer zone and another in central Gaza, for an operating volume sufficient to feed 1 million people. It hopes to expand operations and reach others eventually. The GHF operation was held up, said Mr. Eli Cohen, Israel's energy minister and a security cabinet member. This was meant to begin yesterday, the 25th, but that didn't happen, he told Army Radio. UN agencies have voiced concern that a limited resumption of food distribution would be insufficient, push civilians into small areas and politicize aid. Israel's strategy is drawing increasing global censure, angering its allies in Europe and isolating it in international forums. The GHF has said it offers a pragmatic plan that is able to immediately get aid into Gaza under the conditions as they exist today, and deemed no longer viable the United Nations-led mechanism that was in place for decades before Hamas triggered the war by invading Israel on October 7, 2023. Hamas warned Gazans it would take necessary measures against any who avail themselves of the distribution centers. On May 26, GHF said it condemns in the strongest terms Hamas's death threats targeting aid groups supporting humanitarian operations at GHF safe distribution sites, and efforts to block the Gazan people from accessing aid at the sites. Officials have said that the Israeli military would guard the periphery of the sites while U.S. contractors provide security. Recipients will be the heads of Palestinian households, vetted to ensure they are not members of Hamas, and given provisions to last each family a week. Concerns have been raised over how onerous carrying the rations long distances could prove to those already weak from hunger. But the plan aims to limit the chances of Hamas operatives seizing truckloads, Israel has said. In his resignation letter, Mr. Wood said, "It is not possible to implement this plan while also strictly adhering to the humanitarian principles of humanity, neutrality, impartiality, and independence." Mr. Cohen, the energy minister, said Israel had rejected an offer for 10 hostages to be released over the course of a 2-month ceasefire. Israel backs a proposal by U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff under which half of the living hostages would be freed immediately, and the return of the rest and ending the war would be discussed in the ensuing 45 to 60-day truce, Mr. Cohen said. Israel wants Hamas toppled and disarmed and its leaders exiled. Hamas has signaled it could give up Gaza governance, but not its arsenal. Hamas, designated a terrorist organization by the US and the European Union, killed 1,200 people and took 250 hostages in the October 7th assault. Israel's offensive has killed more than 53,000 people in Gaza, according to the Palestinian Territories' Hamas-run health ministry. Israel has lost more than 400 troops in Gaza combat. Bloomberg. India's foreign secretary visits U.S. to enhance military ties. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri will visit the U.S. from May 27 to 29 to advance the India-U.S. Compact, a strategic initiative launched in February 2025. The compact aims to deepen cooperation in defense through co-production of military platforms and boost bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030. It also fosters collaboration in advanced technologies and strengthens energy security and Indo-Pacific strategic priorities. New Delhi, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri will be visiting the United States from May 27 to 29 to meet with senior officials of the Trump administration. The visit is a follow-up to Prime Minister's visit to the United States in February 2025, when both sides had launched the India-US Compact, catalyzing opportunities for military partnership, accelerated commerce and technology, for the 21st century, the Ministry of External Affairs said. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri. The India-US Compact is a strategic initiative launched in February 2025 by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Donald Trump. This comprehensive framework aims to deepen bilateral cooperation across defense, trade, and advanced technologies, marking a significant advancement in the India-US Comprehensive Global Strategic Partnership. At the heart of the compact is a 10-year roadmap to elevate the US-India major defense partnership, enabling co-production and joint development of critical military platforms such as Javelin missiles, Stryker combat vehicles, and P-8I surveillance aircraft. A new autonomous systems industry alliance has also been established to advance collaboration in frontier defense technologies, including artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, and maritime security solutions. Economically, the initiative targets a doubling of bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030 through a comprehensive agreement that emphasizes fair trade practices, mutual growth, and national security safeguards.
Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.